Let's talk about the parallel realities of the self. When I was reading Reality Transurfing, a similar concept, like, there are different infinite parallel realities of an individual, in which, each of the parallel reality is different from one another.
Mhm.
And based on where we show our attention and based on our being, we choose a reality which is most compatible to us. Is this how it works, or can you explain the parallel realities of the self? Yeah.
So yes, and it's like this book. It's like the Bible. If you look,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can see that all these are
Oh.
all the and
uh,
there's like yeah, it's just my that's and that's not where I learned about frequency or anything like that. But
okay.
yeah, it's
The name of that
the
book is Parallel Realities of the Self. Is it?
parallel universes of here. Let's see if I
Parallel
can get it there.
Universes of Self. Okay.
Yeah, Frederick Dodson. Yeah,
Frederick Dodson.
yeah.
Okay.
I think you can choose any reality, quite honestly. But
Mm.
I think in terms of you mentioned bleed throughs, so everything is happening now. That's the concept of everything is happening now. And of course, we
Mm.
used to think that, oh, there's something in the future. This thing is in the future, or this thing is in the past. And what I've come to understand is that our desires are actually bleed throughs from that other universe where we are actually already operating there, right? There's a me that's in another universe. I mean, a gazillion other universes, but there's another universe. And in there, I'm doing the exact, I'm having the exact experience in my life that I really want to have. There's another one that's having a totally awful experience, right? And everything in between, right? Every
Mm.
possible thing
Combination.
in between. But the ones that make it through, the ideas that make it through, that those desires, those are to me, those are bleed throughs from those other timelines, through those from those other
Oh.
universes. Very same thing, and because I had that thought, I was like, wow, you're right. Of course, that makes sense, right? I have this.
Yes.
I have all these different desires. Where do they come from? Not everybody has those same desires, right? But the
Mm.
ones that are closest to us, let's say are
Mm.
most, just a kind of the next level for us, are the easier ones to attain for sure, because it doesn't take much of a shift in frequency for us to get to that. On the other hand, the all those kind of worst case scenarios that we're entertaining, the worry, doubt, fear, and those things sometimes come to pass, right? It's like, well, I knew that was going to happen. Well, yes, because you accessed that frequency, you received that frequency, it became part of you. You became part of it, right? And so, or you merged, however you want to put
Mm.
that. But and so it's it really is. I say this to my clients all the time. All problems are a result of focus and frequency, right? So if you're not focused on the right frequency, you're not going to get the things that you want, right?
Mm.
So it really is continuously that here's my focus. I'm tapping into this. Again, I'm zapping, right? And so the 0 point access, or activating the frequency and play, right? So I'm just playing with this frequency. During my regular day, what would it, if I'm this, what does that feel like? What am I doing, right? Um, but that's how I think about it. Is just that those bleed throughs are really us, in a different dimension, or a different universe that is actually doing those things.
And
Um,
like in your mind, do you think these realities actually exist in, like, in actually, by actually I mean, do they physically exist or they subtly exist?
yeah, yeah. I don't know, right? I mean,
Mm.
I think it's kind of beyond our comprehension, right? Is it
Yeah.
existing in a different dimension? Yeah, sure. I guess anything's possible,
Mm.
right? We just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know,
Yeah.
and we don't have that access to the full understanding of how the universe works. But um, regardless, because I get asked this by a number of people, and it's just like,
Mm.
Yes, it could be. It could be that there is that me that's doing that, or it's me that's ready, that reality
Mm,
exists, but it's not online yet, right? And it has a past and it has a future, but it's not on. Let's using the computer kind of analogies. It's not online yet, right?
mm,
Regardless, it doesn't really matter. How do we use that for what we want to achieve and what we want to do and
mm,
what we want to experience right now? So if that concept works, if receiving that works, and again, if we look back at how we've created our life in the past, or how those amazing things have happened to us in the past, then you'll see that thread is like, oh yeah, we were in that frequency, and so we were very tapped in. So to me, that's just, it's what will you how can we use this? What would be the
yeah.
most useful way for us to think about this?
Mm.
And we could spend all day trying to figure it out and still not actually get it right. So
And what are the limitations to this, right? Because let's say I'm 5'6", I can't compete with 7-foot basketball players.
right.
So even though theoretically there is a parallel reality in which I am 7 feet tall, but
Yeah,
that I can't imagine bringing it here, or it seems impossible. So
right.
what do you think are the limitations of this? Yeah.
Well, I think that's the limitation right there, right? Is that is
Mm,
that um and I think if we go into the imagination is reality, so if we can't even imagine it, there's no possible reality. The Frederick Dodson talks about in parallel universes of self that um you know, that those things, physical changes can be made in an instant, right? And we see that with multiple personalities, where that
yeah.
somebody can lose 20 pounds in 3 days because they've changed their personality. Like they with that multiple personalities, or they will present with um, a disease, and then they take on that other personality, and that disease goes like in very short period of time. So could you grow to 7 feet tall? Conceivably, but it's just not even within our concept of how the world works, right? So in that, right away, there is that limitation, is that no, it's not, it would not happen because we can't imagine it. It
Yeah.
doesn't fit
Maybe. Yeah.
with the to me, it's like we've come into this reality with a common set of agreements and rules, let's say, and
Mm,
so we have lots of play, but there are some things that is just beyond the scope of that.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and also maybe I think it is the limitation of our mind, because
yes, yeah,
yeah, our podcast and our YouTube channel is more about Indian scriptures, Vedanta, Advaita. I'll talk about this later on. But then there is a book, it's very popular, autobiography of Yogi.
hmm
Yeah, even Steve Jobs used to read it, and there are many books like that where there are extreme examples of yogis in India who used to walk through walls, who used to float, who used to one there is an instance where a person's hand was cut off, and because of his abilities, he just, it seems he just fixed it right back.
hmm
So
hmm
yeah, maybe, yeah, it seems impossible because maybe it's the limitation of our minds, but then
hmm
the universe itself is there is no limitation to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think, yeah, and there's so many
Mm,
examples of that. It's just like, I don't even, how
mm,
did that even happen? I mean, if you even think about sometimes some things that we see, or we think we see, or we 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 see some occurrence. Like I just think about traffic, right? And if you're in a busy location, and all of a
mm,
sudden it looks like this person is just going to have like is going to have an accident, right? It's like, how did that car miss that person or that other car?
yeah.
It's almost like they just went through each other, or just something
Mm,
magical happened, and it just, I don't even know how that happened. And we put it off to, oh no, it's just my perception, I didn't see it right. You kind of do the shake of
yeah.
your head and just like, okay, I didn't really see that. But in fact, I think those things are always happening. And
Yeah.
yeah, I totally
Mm,
agree. I think
yeah.
um yeah.
If you liked the video, check out this next and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you and welcome to our community.